Hi, how is everybody? Hope you're okay. Um, Sending lots of love and positivity. It's exciting times, isn't it? Everything's going to be opening up tomorrow. Yay, freedom! Freedom again. So yeah, it's Ramadan starts tomorrow, and I was looking into this, and actually a lot of different faiths do fasting, and it's a process of, I suppose, reflection. Think about people that have less than we do, or some of us. But also, the process of fasting also gets you closer to your true self, or your inner being, or to God, whichever, or source, creator, whatever you want to call it. And not only that, it's also scientifically proven. Intermittent fasting is scientifically proven to have health benefits as well, and it also kickstarts a process called autophagy, which is where your body breaks down all of the dead cells within you. So it, on that sort of cellular level, it's really, really good for you. So I've decided I'm going to do Ramadan. Because of all of those reasons, basically. And I think, there's so many people that are starving. Just, I think, it doesn't harm to consume less, does it? To think about that, think about that. Think about what and how we consume and the things that we consume. So yeah, I'm going to do that. And I've also got because I've seen some amazing charities, which are Muslim charities that are working in Yemen and Syria. So I've decided I'm going to add a collection to my shop, and 100% of the profits from I've already designed it. It's Islamic calligraphy, which means Bismillah, which is for God, basically. And then it's got Ramadan fam written on the back. So I'm gonna put that. I'm gonna do that and get that on there tomorrow. And 100% of the profits will be split between, charity organisations, Muslim charity organisations that are working in those areas, and I've got a list of those. I'll put them in as well. Because I think it's important, just thinking about what, everything that's going on. And much like, I know I've done a lot of white bashing, I'm very conscious that I have done that, but The point is this: not all white people are white supremacists, but a few are, a minority, right? And that same sort of principle applies in other areas, doesn't it? So not all police are murderers, but some are. And not all people of with that have faith in Islam are extremists, but a few are. We can't judge everybody by the same, it just doesn't make sense. It's hate that people have. And again, even if you think about with the hate that's going on towards Asian people, and it's like, well, the people in Asia are not responsible for the virus. So how can, it doesn't make sense to me. And the only people, obviously more evidence is coming out, potential leak from lab. Look, it came from the lab, let's face it. And there's loads of evidence. And if you watch all my other videos, you'll see links to evidence on that. I'm not going down there again. But that lab itself, although it is in China, it's funded by America and Europe and England. So it's not even their fault anyway. So this hatred, it just, where's it coming from? It doesn't even make any sense. And when you there's a few incidents that have happened recently in African countries that are saying Sleepy Island that have happened recently that said they're ISIS, right? Now there's a few things that need to be considered here. I'm not defending, this is not defending anyone's actions whatsoever, because it's, there's murder's murder, right? However, there are questions to consider. And having looked at these countries and what's going on, LinkedIn, where do they get their guns? Okay. So there's firstly, you've got to consider what's going on in the country and what commodities are in said country, right? This first thing. And almost always without fail, there's drugs. So that you see how, and I've said it before several times, how people in certain places are trying to start something. They're trying to start a race war, and they're trying to start a religious war. So you've got these countries where people are quite poor, and that makes you vulnerable to people with bad intentions who want to control the commodities of the region. So for me, it's like saying it's a religious thing is just a distraction, because really what's going on is the control of the area to control the flow of drugs. And then you've got to think, where are they're getting these fucking guns? And they're military. They're not military. I don't want to associate it with military because it's not that. But they are military grade automatic weapons. And how? So who's funding that? You know what I'm saying? Well, it's drug dealers further up the chain, isn't it? Yeah. Because these people ain't got the money to buy those kind of weapons. And not only that, where are the companies that make these kind of weapons? Well, they're only based in two primarily, and that's America and the UK. So at some point somewhere, it's come from them. You see what I mean? But they're trying to blame it on religion as a to try and start something, when in fact, or actually, what's going on is it's a drug thing. And you can look at the history of the region. You can look at the history of the region and of those countries, and that's exactly what's going on. It says so in black and white. So it's just to be aware of that. And, you know, it's all propaganda. Whatever is being put in front of us, propaganda to make us feel certain things or inflame people that have maybe already got what's the right word? Opinions, negative opinions about certain things, certain people. And the way it's portrayed is totally and utterly designed to inflame that situation. So I'll put in the links to the countries with the information. It just says it. It says that they you know what I mean? Like, so you got to think about all of these militias and that. Where are they getting their guns? Where are they getting their guns? These are poor countries. They ain't got the money for guns. They ain't got the money for machine guns like that. And this brings me on to a gun matter. Now, I don't want to, this is going to piss people off in the end, I'm sure. But guns are an issue. Guns are an issue. And I think people need to remember, obviously I appreciate it's written into the Constitution. So you're never going to change it. Like, you're never going to be able to get rid of them, probably ever, because it's written in. However, let's not forget who wrote that Constitution and the time that they wrote it. It was a different time. And it was, I hate to say it, but I'm gonna, rich white men who wrote it, and it was just a different time, and with different wrong beliefs about certain things and certain people. And let's face it, everyone else wasn't getting guns. It was only rich white people, right? So they're the ones that could afford the guns. And what were they doing with them? Well, they were shooting everybody else, weren't they? And let's not forget, you know, in slavery times, These people just killing people left, right, and centre. They did not give a shit, did they? They were chopping off people's hands, burning them, whipping them, shooting people, humans, family, that they had no right to ever possess. So that's the backdrop. So obviously, whenever everyone else is then feels that need to get guns to protect themselves against white people, because white people are the ones that had them in the first place, that were shooting everybody. So this whole I need to protect myself, you need to protect yourself from yourself. Right. And this, as I said, the clip that I saw with this National Rifle Association guy going, there's no difference between a gun and a spatula. Now, if that was the case and everyone gave up their guns and everyone had a spatula, gun crime would go to zero in a heartbeat. So there is a massive difference, and it's a beneficial one. I mean, nobody's going to do that, but the point, you know what I mean? Like, what a ridiculous statement to make. Yeah, cool. Okay, if that's what you think about it, let's just swap then. The thing is, I understand. I understand having guns to protect yourself when it is as the situation is as it is. But if you've got one, you're more likely to shoot one, aren't you? And if drink or drugs or anything is involved, emotion, rage, and you have a weapon on you, well, the chance, you know what I mean? If you don't have one, you won't shoot. You wouldn't be able to shoot one, would you? So your reaction would be totally different. And I think the response now is just too quick to just go to it. Isn't it? All you need to do is just watch these watch how police respond. And I love police, guys. I'm supporting you, but this kind of immediate aggressive response of automatically putting the weapon out to go to stop people in cars. I've just seen one just now, which is this is a military guy, and he was pulled over. He's African American. He's I think he's part African, part Indian, but he's an army guy. He was in his army gear, and the police pulled him over for driving too slowly, and they went up to him with a gun already pulled out. Like, where's the need for that? Like, that aggressive immediately. Like, that is like that. Pulling a gun out should be the absolute last thing you do, because even just doing that is just making the situation worse. And then everyone gets all, it just takes it somewhere it doesn't need to go. Like, you don't need to be pulling out your weapon at car stops. And to a military guy, they didn't even pull it, they didn't even put their guns down, like, for real. So he's suing them now, rightly so. because the policemen also then lied about what they did, but they had the body cam footage which contradicted what they said. So, and then the other thing I've noticed on watching these clips is that not only is it pulled out, but when it's used, talk to me about this logic. Why would you, in any circumstance, gun should be last. And if it is needed, why? But again, like, use a taser. Taser knocks someone out. You know what I mean? There's just what is the need for this force? And not only that, so then pulling the gun out, but then when they use it, I've noticed there's a trend, and the trend is this: they don't shoot once, like in like the leg or somewhere that's not fatal, that will just take someone out. Like, you know what I mean? Like in the thigh or there's loads of limbs you could go for that would not that would take you off pace or whatever if you're running. Right? Or ankle. You know what I mean? But no, they don't do that. They're shooting like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Now that to me says that there is something really wrong with that person, because there's just no need to shoot anybody that many times. You know what I mean? Like, psychologically, what are they thinking? Because there's just no need for it. Like, because a lot of the ones I'm watching are where they're running away. So what if they're running away? Fair enough, you want to stop them. One is, if they're not that far away, you can taser them from that far. 2, shoot them somewhere where they can just, they're still going to be alive. And as I said, this gun, and then you wonder why other people are carrying guns and it's going up. Other crimes are being committed with guns. Well, if you've got the police to go by as the example in the community, and that's what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like, it sends out the wrong message to absolutely everybody. And again, this isn't everybody in the police. I know this. As I said at the start of the video, most aren't like this, but some are. And unfortunately, how these people are still working in these police forces, because I've said it, you're going to know the people that work in the police departments are going to know the ones that should not be carrying guns. And until you've got to be an example. You've got to be the ones that are showing that that's not the way to behave. That's not the way to handle a gun. That's not the way to treat people. It should be a last resort, not a first resort. If that's what you expect other people in the community to be like as well. Everything is a mirror. Everything is a reflection. So if you want to be respected, then act respectfully. If you want gun crime to go down, then don't be pulling guns out left, right, and centre and shooting people 5, 6, 7, 8 times like nutters. And the extent, like, obviously people have the right because it's in the Constitution, and absolutely people that live in homesteaders who are just frankly geniuses at this point. They got this on lock, didn't they? They were like, fuck this shit, we're moving out. We are moving out. out of the nonsense, out of the chaos. Just go live in nature and be free. Oh, amen to you guys. And they're using it for hunting. That's you know what I mean. Shooting for, that's different. Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, the amount of guns. This is the other thing. So if you're going to have a gun, why do you need the amount? When I'm not talking about numbers, I'm talking about different types. So why are automatic and semi-automatic weapons even available for purchase? Like, what possible need could there be for anybody in any setting other than a military one? And even, I'm going to get onto that in a minute. And even then, what need is there for an automatic or a semi-automatic weapon? Like, if you want to have a handgun, that's your business. I'd like one. I'd like one, a gold one. Obviously, it's not legal over here. So I've got a samurai sword instead, which is legal. Thank you. So, but an automatic weapon. Talk to me about this. Or a semi-automatic one. Like, it just, all it has is like red alarm bells screaming at me. Like, why would you even have that on a shelf for anyone to buy? You know, even for the people that like you can shoot just to shoot. And why do you need shooting all these guns for? Why would you? Why would you want to own one? Unless you deep down you have the intent of using it. You know what I mean? You don't need an automatic weapon to protect yourself in your own home or on the street. Like, this seems absolutely balmy to me. You know? I'm going to go on to this because I was watching. I've said it before. I'm going to say it one more time. Probably I won't. It'll probably be loads more times, like one more time today. Which is, so, and this is coming up from watching. My mum's an absolute craze for these bloody murder programs. Yeah, I generally go for a nap in the day now just so I can take myself away from it because I can't actually watch any more of it. It's psychology. It's distressing, but it teaches you a lot about psychology of nut jobs. Let me tell you. So, one thing I have found, I'll tell you this: I have accurately predicted every 100% of the time from the 911 call, if that person did it or not. Ask my mum every time, and these are programs I have not even watched. Because you can tell by the voice just how they do the call, if it's them or not. You can tell just from that one snippet. You can. I'm telling you, you can tell 100% of the time. I've guessed it right. Anyway, there was this. There was a case on that Mum was watching earlier. It's an American one. Where's the chap's name? Dennis Ryder. Ryder. Now, his serial killer name was BTK. This guy got away with being a serial killer for 30 years and killed, I can't remember how many, quite a lot of women. Now I'm going to touch on this because, again, this is something else I've said before, but it is important just to show you how fucking backward the system is. So this guy here, 30 years, he got away with it. Do you know what his sentence was? This is fucking balmy. His sentence was 175 years, which is 10 consecutive life sentences. He must have, it was double digits women over this time that they know, right? And he'd have sex, he'd do all sorts of shit to these women when they were already dead, right? He had no, when they caught him, and it was only because somebody started writing a book about him, heard about it, and he was like, I'm not having someone tell my story other than me. Yeah, that's how egotistical he was. So he started leaving trinkets that he'd saved all over the place, and then phoning up and leaving tips. And anyway, eventually got himself caught, and he absolutely had no guilt, nothing, and he basically terrorized this community for 30 years because obviously they knew that he was still at large, and he was, he was killing specific sort of types of women. So completely just terrorized not just the families of the people who's gone, their daughters have gone missing, sisters, mums, whatever, but also the entire community for that long because he was still out and about and they had not caught him. And his sentence, as I said, 170, I mean, just the fact of that 175 years, it's like, what does that even mean? Is that supposed to make him feel better? He's not going to ever live 175 years. It's just like, what's the point of saying that? It's just pointless. And it's going back to my point about why are we paying? I say we, like an adopted American, I've just made myself. Why are we paying, or why are you guys paying for people like that just to live when this is where it comes back to war? So you've got innocent people on this side. So basically there's what is war? Well, it's generally over land, money, drugs, control of something. And in absolutely every instance, war is not the answer, because war destroys lives, destroys countries, destroys economies, destroys everything. It is nothing but, well, it's a money maker, isn't it, for certain people? So, but the armies on either side are innocent because they're just following orders, who are following from the same crew then. And ultimately, it's really just something that should be sat around a table. If you thought about it rationally, and these people could put their egos aside just for one hot minute, and also put, the actions and thoughts of predecessors and ancestors, and put all of that aside to be like, let's just deal with this one issue we've got right now, and what is the best answer, which is to sit around a table and just talk it out and think about it logically for the benefit of all, rather than just destroying both sides. And innocent people on both sides, lives lost. And, through the process of war, the land gets destroyed, and people's animals die, and families die, and buildings get destroyed, and everything. So we're okay with that. This is where I'm going to. They are okay with it. Sorry, not we aren't. They're okay with that. They're okay with the slaughter of innocent lives on both sides. But this here, and people like this, they're allowed to live, are they? know what I mean? It don't make no sense. It doesn't make any sense. So innocence on both sides, innocence in the community being, killed in war, just following orders. Remember, following orders. It's not their fault. They're following orders. Yeah, innocence. But somebody who spends 30 years of their life terrorizing a community and murdering tens of women and has absolutely no remorse for any of it, and is now sitting in prison with a roof over his head, food in his belly, probably laughing to himself, going, ha ha. Yeah? Why? How in any reality is war okay, and all of the death that comes with it? But you want to keep this one alive? For what reason? This one is guilty. And anyone else there's the ones because there's all this stuff about, what if they're innocent? No, listen. There for sure there are some that maybe there are, and there's proof of it, right? But there are people in prison that are innocent. But you'll know from their cases and how their case unfolds and the evidence that there's that they're not or may not be, because they'll be questioning. But there's a large percentage of people that are fully guilty, that know they're guilty. Everyone knows they're guilty. The evidence tells you they're guilty, and they say they're even guilty. Yeah, those ones. Why are you paying for those ones? No matter where you are in the world, why are you paying for those guilty ones? You want to keep them alive, these murderous, demonic, psychotic people alive. And then let's not also forget, these people then make pen pals. Even some of them get girlfriends and wives on the outside. They're manipulating people from in there to outside, getting them to do shit for them. And then they're making money because they're telling their story, and they're becoming even more infamous and spreading more fear. Just them even existing still is detrimental to all of the people whose lives that he destroyed, all of the families that this man destroyed. To their families, just knowing that he's there. He is not human. That is not human. That is not human. So you're all right with killing innocent human lives, but not okay with killing a demon. Let's just there needs to be serious. There needs to be a shake-up. Serious. Just do a mass cull. That's what I say. Of the guilty ones. It costing you 60,000, 40 to 60,000 per person, per demon per year. And these are people that made, because people can murder somebody. I'm not going to use the word murder. Accidents happen, mistakes happen, but that ain't a mistake, is it? 30 years of killing people. It's not a mistake, that. He knew exactly what he was doing. It's a different breed. That's a different breed of person. It just is. It doesn't make no sense to me. What else was I going to say? There is, so I was watching, I'm going to put in some links to manifestation, because I'm on instant manifestation right about now, which is awesome. And so I'm going to put links into that, and about journaling and how to script your manifestations, all of that kind of good stuff. If you don't know what that is, read the links. So I was watching yesterday, was it? Yeah, yesterday. I was watching this program called Grand Designs. Now, it was cool. This couple in London because London is well known for its emissions, really bad emissions. And there was a case recently where this little girl, she had really bad asthma, and it was proven that it was down to pollution. And she basically had an asthma attack and died, actually, ultimately. And that's so, despite the congestion charge, which they're telling you is trying to make it a green zone, and that is actually the worst it's ever been. And again, scientifically proven in certain areas to be over dangerous levels. And when it's over dangerous levels, do you know what that? It obviously affects your lungs, it affects your internal inflammation. When that happens, you are prone to, it affects your immune system, which means you're prone to the disease and more likely to get infections, for example. Then the other thing it affects is obviously any kind of allergies, any kind of skin conditions such as eczema, and obviously asthma, and any kind of respiratory. So people in built up areas where there's a lot of pollution, that's going to be affecting you. And if they've got a green policy that says it should be less than XYZ, like it does in London, and then they don't stick to it, you know what you got there? Where there's blame, there's claim, people. You know what I mean? So, needs to be checking these things. Because if they're saying that they're doing something and they've made it into a policy and then they're not sticking to it and it's actually over dangerous levels, then actually everybody in London, or at least everybody in that specific area, that I know there's one, which is Lewisham, anyone in Lewisham should be making a claim if you've got any kind of health condition, respiratory, because they're lying, basically. So they live in London, they've got 3 kids. All 3 of their kids have got really bad allergies, asthmas, and 2 of them particularly. And they're in the top sort of 5% of children that suffer from those things. So their reactions are really, really bad. And it's obviously, because you can die from an asthma attack, can't you? Just prove it, but so what they've done, they both run their own businesses, so they're very lucky that they can afford to do this. But it was they had designed a healthy house, and because another thing that I didn't realise, so like in the let's go back to 1800s, and people were using like crazy shit on the walls as paint, for example. One of their faves was arsenic, right? And so they were using it as a mix to make these bright colours to paint on the walls that they thought were magnificent. And then obviously anyone in any of the rooms that had that paint started dropping down dead, and it was only after a certain amount of time they realised it was because of this arsenic. Well, I shouldn't laugh, but time tells, doesn't it? Much like asbestos. So asbestos was used, and then suddenly, then everyone actually, no, it's really dangerous. Right. So I didn't know this, but almost all building materials that are used today are potentially hazardous. So they, because a lot of them have, so paints and things have solvents in, glues have solvents in, any loads of different types of woods and MDF and stuff have got a glue together with formaldehyde, which is used to put in dead bodies. Carpets, because they've got the glues on underneath. Just so much building material, so many building materials are potentially, not potentially, they are hazardous to our health. And they let off something called, sorry, building industry, they let off something called VOCs, which is volatile organic compounds. And volatile organic compounds over time can go into your lungs. You can breathe them in. Guess what it does? It inflames all of your insides. And when you're inflamed, you are susceptible to disease. It slows down your immune system, and you get ill and get infections. So, I mean, this is a negative and a positive, because there's obviously a massive opportunity there for the building industry to make products that don't have those things, or just more of the ones, because there are alternatives, basically, is what I'm saying. There are there's solvent-free paints, there's solvent-free, there's loads of solvent-free stuff, and that have, because you can actually search for the gradient of this VOC. And this is important when you've got children or adults that suffer already from any kind of respiratory problem or a skin problem. And and just generally, it's better for you if you're perfect peak health, then it's less of a stress. But if you are in any way vulnerable already because of something, then these things will 100% make it worse. And obviously, that's if you've got kids with anything like that, then this is important. So they decided they were going to have this house built, and they've made it so that it basically they made it from concrete, and then they used some, I want to call it a hoof house. It's like a prefab bits that just come and they slot them all in, and then they made it airtight. And then they had a special airflow system, so there's constantly fresh air, and all the bad air's being taken out of any germs or anything. I mean, obviously this is an extreme case because their children are, suffer severely, but the point is still the same, which is even our external, environment within our own home can affect our health just by the wallpaper and the glue that's been used to use it, and the stuff that's on the carpet and underneath the carpet. So if you get an infection and then you're in an environment that's letting off these volatile organic compounds that are toxic, then it's gonna make it worse. Ultimately, they did a grand job, and they use everything in the house, like copper handles and things, because they're easier to. They're supposed to be hypoallergenic house. That's what they called it. Using copper handles, things like that. That's good for being hypoallergenic. they didn't use carpets. They used like shiny sort of concrete on the floor. And it's mainly the airflow. They just had, everything was top spec though, to be fair. They did spend about $1 million on it, but on that sort of, that's on a grand scale. But if you are decorating, it's just worthwhile thinking about, because if you've got kids that suffer from these things, or if you do, then it's just taking the extra few minutes to find something, because it's going to be beneficial for your health at the end of the day. So I'll put a link into that, because I thought that was really interesting, and it's a massive opportunity, because we're all on a health kick now, aren't we, guys? So there'll be a massive opportunity there for anyone that makes those kind of stuff. What was the other thing? Oh, I've got this meditation. So there's this guy called Dr. Joe Dispenza. I've shared his sort of things before. Now, this is to do with the immune system as well. So I think our bodies, originally, before we started poisoning them with this, that, and the other, our bodies were just temples of amazingness, and we could fight off anything. I'm talking way back when. But ultimately, when we're at our peak performance, let's say, our bodies can fight off anything. So there's he's a neuroscientist, this guy, and all of these things. So when we're talking about, I've spoken about it before, and as have loads of other people, I'm sure. I'm not unique in any of my thoughts. I'm just sharing other people's. But obviously, everything connects to everything else. So what we put into our bodies, and then getting stressed. All of the stressed and anxious and fearful, and all of the chemical responses that go on in your brain associated with those feelings and the hormones that they release, then that makes your body inflamed again, and inflammation reduces your immune system, and then that makes you susceptible to illness. So then it's all about how to this is what he talks about, which is, how do we get ourselves out of this sort of mental state of letting ourselves get stressed by our external environment, and focusing on our internal, our not giving a fuck, I suppose is the best way to describe it. Just not letting other things bother us, other people, the chaos, the noise, and just focus inside. And there's it's really interesting video, and they did a test. So they did this with science as well. So they had people that went to his course, and at the start of the week they did a blood test with COVID. Right, so they took this guy's bloods, and they put COVID in a petri dish. So they looked at it like at that level, and all the cells became infected with COVID. So, but over the course of 4 days doing these meditations, and about learning to let go, and learning to focus on your not letting things bother you, just focusing on finding your happy place, the oasis of the mind, or whatever you want to call it, and doing meditations, and just caring about yourself, about your own happiness and mental health, and realizing that all of these things are connected, and realizing that what we put on our body is important to the function, if you want to get the best out of yourself on a cellular level, that all of those things are important. But not only that, when you do that and you don't let other things bother you, you're just not bothered, you know, you're in a place of zen or whatever you want to call it, actually on a biological level, it improves your immunity within you by 50%. So it means that you can. So they did a test on the same guy with his blood at the end of doing this for 5 days, I think it was, and they put COVID in it again, and it didn't do anything. So his body basically became, just through this process, no vaccine, none of this, through this process of understanding oneself, and that everything is connected, and that what we put in our minds and bodies is important, and how we look after ourselves is important. He thought the blood at the end was not affected by the COVID at whatsoever. The COVID didn't take over, didn't do nothing. So it's basically his body made itself a vaccine. It naturally fought it off, became immortal, immunity, just from that. Because he wasn't stressed, he wasn't anxious, so it wasn't inflamed, he wasn't bothered by these, he wasn't fearful. And this is the whole thing. There's nothing to fear. Because the fear and the stress and the anxiety and all of these and then the potential depression, and then alcohol and sugar and salt and caffeine and nicotine and all of that, add it out, and we're just a big old inflamed mess on the inside. We don't know, our insides are just going, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing to me? What are you doing? And then we're just susceptible. Of course we're susceptible to disease. And if you've already got something else and you do all of those things, and then something like COVID comes, obviously, you are going to get it because you're susceptible to it, because you're doing absolutely nothing to help yourself, to build your own immunity. And this is why it affects people in different. But also, you got to think, in Africa, as I said, their numbers are so low. We say the Western world should be begging Africa to tell them their wise ways. 65,000 cases in the whole of Africa. 1,800 deaths only in the whole of Africa. How'd they do that? They haven't got the budgets that anyone else has got. They have not got the vaccines. They have not got the masks. They haven't got the sanitizer. They haven't got the sanitary systems. They haven't got, in a lot of these countries. How do they do that? You know what? It's because they're happy people and they've got faith. I'm telling you now. They know who they are. And there's one country where the president, who's since been, has actually died. I think it's suspect myself, but he told his entire nation to pray for 4 days, and nobody had it. Just saying. So yeah, and I'm rambling on now. Look, I've gone on for that long already. Jesus. There's something else that came to me. I had an email from a guy in the States, and he wants to go. He's invited me to go on this course. And but the email was about neurotech. What let me hold on. It's called BCI. Now Tesla he's got Neuralink. He's created Neuralink, and Neuralink. Actually, I won't go into it because I don't know it that well, and I don't want to misquote him or anything. But essentially, it's technology to connect to your brain to help create neural pathways that may help people with, say, mobility issues, because it can recreate those pathways, right? So I'm just a bit nervous of where this goes. I thought at the time with the Tesla Neuralink, I was thinking, no, I'm not. There's no way no one's putting a chip in my brain. I'm just putting that out there straight. Anyway, so now I've got this email, right, and it's talking about the same thing, but it let me see. Let me see if I can bring it up. I'll do it on this one. So it's called, as I say, BCI. Here we go. I'm going to read you this email. We're about to massively increase the amount of human genius on the planet Earth in two distinct ways. Firstly, by identifying and connecting those geniuses that already exist but lack access to the right tools because they're off-grid. Okay, that sounds cool. Everyone should be connected, right? Make your dreams come true. Second, by connecting the average human cortex to the cloud, amplifying human intelligence with high bandwidth brain-computer interfaces. Now, this put my back up straight away because I just thought, when you're connected, right, when you are truly spiritually connected to yourself and to source, you can ask a question. This is from my experience. It's not mine alone. And this is why I'm going to put links into manifestation and all of this stuff, because and people through history have said the same thing, which is, when you are truly connected to yourself and to source, you can ask any question and get the answer, or an idea will come to you. Where's that coming from? Source. And it will lead you to the answer. Okay, so if you want to put that in, you've got a instant access to infinite knowledge just by being spiritually connected. Right? Go with me. Don't have to believe me, I'm going to put links in. I'm just telling you my personal experience. Because any question I ask gets answered. And that's just a fact. Right? So, so it's like they want to make us into robots. This is what I'm reading it as. Because when you know that you can already tap into it anyway, why would you even need that? You wouldn't, would you? And I'm going to go on to why this is dangerous in a minute. Nothing is more important to a company or a nation than intelligence. It's the fundamental to key problem solving, wealth creation, and underpins the human capital that drives every company and nation forward. So to me, it feels like, well, they want to try now to design chips to put in people's brains to basically extract the knowledge and make it good, because once you've got a chip in there, if you've got a chip in there in your brain that's connected to your neural pathways and to a computer, well, what's the mind of the person controlling the computer? What if that computer gets hacked? And then they've got direct access to a chip that's in your brain that controls your neural pathways, and they can make you do things, because there's I'll put a link in. There's evidence that takes away your free will. Takes away your free will. They could control you by the chip in this brain. And this is, not only is this in existence, this has been used since Because I went then, and obviously I was like, hold on a minute, this doesn't sit right with me. And it's been used since like 1997. They've been using this tech, and then they've been using it to try and reproduce telepathy. It's like, mate, you don't even need that chip shit in you to do telepathy. It's scientifically proven without the chip. So why are you trying to do that? So listen, let me carry on. So you've got the power of connectivity. Hold on. So I can understand the connectivity thing, because it says tomorrow's hyper-connected world, extraordinary individuals will no longer be casualties of class, country, or culture. So that sounds good. But the danger that is posed by linking the brain to the cloud, mate, not a fucking chance. Our second catalyst of human capital is BCI. While genius may be a rare phenomenon, we're starting to understand its underlying neurobiology. There are two major strains to this work, near term and far term. And it says neurological basis for innovation, that is creativity, learning, motivation, a state of consciousness known as flow. It's just alarm bells are ringing at every point. Like, and more important, if it's earlier, actually, it's earlier, because the thing is, there's benefits and there's not, right? So there was a guy in the 70s who created this on a basic level, and he managed to make somebody who was blind see. But again, spiritual people, healers, natural healers have done the same thing. It's like, why? I don't know. It's dangerous ground. It's dangerous ground. And I'll put a link into it. I'll put a link into the research for that, and I'll put this email in. And more, it's been used. It's been used already since the 90s. So or early 2000s. You know. So how many people have got these already? You know what I mean? How many people have got them already? It's amazing what you find out. It's crazy. It's about finding out about human clones the other day. Like, what the fuck is going on? Do you know, it's every day. Every day is a school day. Every day is a school day. I'm this week I've decided I'm getting a new tattoo. I booked it in. I'm going to get my nose pierced. This bit. And I'm going to get this pierced here. Just because I want to. And as a memoir to this year, I've decided that I'm going to turn my body into a piece of art, and I'm going to use all of the things that I found out, like symbols, sign symbols from all faiths, because I'm going to declare myself multi-faith. And the first one I'm getting done is I'm going to get on my stomach. You know, like Care Bear stare. Do you remember the circles they had in the middle? Yeah, I'm going to get it done like that. And it's called this. It's from John Dee days, and it's the Siglium de Ameth, I think it is, which is the seal. It's the seal of God and the archangels. It's well complicated. So I've got a picture. It's going to take ages, but I like the pain anyways, so it's cool. Where is it? Let's see if I show you a picture. Oh, there you go. I haven't decided if I'm going to have it done in colour yet. Is it? No, you can't get it. Oh, there you go. So detailed. Look at that. Okay, it's going to be all over my tummy. Yes. Yes. So, and then also, obviously, I've got my other designs to do, and that'll be 100% for profit. Go to the charity, 2 different charities. And what else did I do? Oh, yesterday I did some training on ClickBank affiliate marketing, so I'm going to get that set up as well. And then I'll tell you about that, because everyone should, have more than one income stream. So if anything ever happens, then at least you know you've got more than one, rather than in this situation that's happened, where people really struggled. So get yourself into a situation where you won't ever struggle again. It's basic rules. Oh, as well. Yes. I've seen these 3 workouts that are going to start tomorrow as well. One is a bubble butt. What is this? This is new terminology to me. Bubble butt. That's what I'm going for. Bubble butt. Apparently you can get one in 2 weeks. I'm taking that challenge on. And I'll put the link into that. And then there's one which is tiny waist. We'll see. I'm going to try that anyways. But apparently you can get it in 2 weeks. So, and I'll be fasting, so it must be mega zone. Yeah, so that one. But bubble butt, slim waist. What was the other one? And they're only 15 minutes, ladies. Only 15 minutes. So I thought, well, I'm sure I can eke out some more time in my day to get even more done. I'm just challenging myself each day. I'm like, nah, I'm going to do more than I did yesterday. Right. I can't remember where it is now. But I'm going to have a bubble butt. I'm telling you now, I'm having a bubble butt in 2 weeks. This is on. Boom, laid it down. So yeah, loving you guys. As always, our team is the bestest. And I just really hope everyone's had a lovely day, and we're smashing it. Freedom is on the horizon. Liberation. And we got this. You know what I mean? Smashing it. So big hugs, virtual hugs, and high fives, hands in, go firm. And I'll see you tomorrow.